So good afternoon all. Um, so whenever I carry this motor, it has been generating significant interest across India. So I've traveled to about 5 cities in the last 2 weeks, and right from the hotels to the airport, you have a crowd asking so many questions about the motor that I'm pretty sure that we are on the right track to electrification and sustainable mobility. Um, I would like to thank Jacob because it's not often that you have teachers from your alma mater in such a forum where you're speaking um, from RVC, RV College. And I hope I'm not going to judge like I used to uh, as it was in the final year dissertation. so, so thank you all. Uh, so what do we do? Basically, EVR is an advanced electric motor technology company, and we are based out of Israel. And that's the small piece of puzzle we are trying to solve of this entire envelope of sustainable mobility. What do we exactly do? I mean, how are we different? Um, so I'll just talk, and as most of my speakers have spoken a lot about the macro environment and the macro level things which are happening in the country. We as a small company are trying to solve a very specific problem which is key to sustainable mobility, which is a key to sustainable mobility not only in India but across the world. And I would like to dwell a little more deeper to explain what we are exactly doing. And please. So, how do we transition mobility? For us, as we are working on electric motors and the advanced technology around it, we have a very strong R&D team which started working on the idea of making the motors smaller so that we use lesser materials and have a higher power density and torque output from the small piece which I've brought here. This 9 kg motor pumps out 40 Newton meters of torque and 17 kilowatts of power. This is the highest density, highest power density you will find in the world right now. We stand at 1.9 kilowatt per kg. Unlike other companies and other competitors who have approx 7.7 or maybe 1.2 kilowatts per kg, our innovation has brought us to the product development, and that we are able to have these motors now for the Indian market as well. So I'll come to this a bit later. So of course, there is a superior power and torque density. That's the first thing. And as a result of this, there is a lot of space saving which happens in the vehicles. So it's very critical for a vehicle designer to have a lot of space inside the vehicle. As they have to play around with the battery pack. They have to do a lot of stuff. There's a lot of wiring. And as one of the panelists said that, the number of parts in an EV is very low. But at the same time, it's also a little, it's difficult to pack such a package in a very small place. So it's always advisable to have smaller space for the motor so that we can fit a lot of other things around it. So we offer a very high power and torque density. That's the first thing. And by doing that, since we are doing that in a small package, we are very cost effective. It's but obvious, and that's one of the key to sustainable mobility, is to bring down the cost of rare earth and even rare earth free materials as low as possible in the longer context, because materials, as you all know, is not finite in the world. And hence, what we are offering is a range of motors, both dependent and also independent of rare earth materials, for all segments of the Indian and the global vehicles. And the last point is, how are we further different, is in terms of how we tailor our solutions. And I'll show you how in the next slide. So we follow something called as a platform strategy. And what do we mean by that? We have motors right from the range of 2 kilowatts to 130 kilowatts. So it's a huge range of motors. We offer these motors in multiple combinations. It can be an air-cooled motor, it can be a water-cooled motor, and also it can be a neodymium motor or a ferrite motor. So there are multiple combinations possible. But the most important thing is the modularity. See, now OEMs don't want to invest in the development of each motor separately. And it's but obvious. Why would you like to invest a fresh development cost and every motor, and then so you have multiple vehicles and multiple development cost? So that led us to the idea of having a single platform which can be scaled across multiple vehicles. And that's what I can show you as an example. So the 160 diameter, this is the motor which I got you here. This basically has 4 variations. The first one is a neodymium one, which offers 40 Newton meters of torque and 17 kilowatts of power. But at the same time, we just keep the same motor. We just change the magnets, we just change the coils, and that's all. We can play with the bandwagon of power and torque, which makes things very flexible for the OEMs as a great solution, as a great scalable solution. So that's one of the key areas we have worked on. And additionally, I would like to point out that this has also helped us in bringing down the long-term cost of setting up facilities, mass productions. Any OEM who is looking to scale at more than 1 million, say 500,000 or 1 million vehicles a year, they find this solution extremely interesting because this is an easy scale up and it saves a lot of cost. Another thing I would like to highlight, which I missed out, is that the key behind this motor, the key to the technology, is a very high copper fill factor. So basically, what we are doing is generally you have these winding processes happening in the motor. That's very cumbersome process. It takes a lot of time. So what we have done is we have created a motor which is very high on copper fill percentage. It's more than 50. So, and we have a coil which doesn't wound during the motor assembly process. We can just make the coil and we can just mount it on the motor. So this kind of creates a very easy chain for a vehicle OEM to manufacture their line of motors and to scale the motors as well. So this is one of the key parts of our technology. So as you can see, as I gave you the example of the 160 motor, the one we have here, similarly we have motors for all the segments, from 2-wheelers to 3-wheelers to LCVs to 4-wheelers. So it's a platform solution. Okay. Now we have already developed 4 motors, and we are looking to develop more, and that's how we're going to take things forward in India. So I took the liberty to add an I to the TIA, and I made it the India-Israel advantage. Okay. I hope Jacob doesn't mind that. But so why I'm doing this is I thought, and just to a pretext to that is I've been working very closely with Israel for the last 6-7 years now. And I find that there's a lot of excellent tie-ups happening in defense and military. Now I think it's time for a good tie-up and a plethora of tie-ups in the mobility segment and of course the sustainable mobility segment. Okay, so I'd like to talk a little about our team and also what we have been doing in India. So we have a robust team. Ophir, who's the chairman. Ofer, who's the CEO, and we have the founders, Eli, Victor, and Roslev, and some of the senior management, extremely experienced team, and so it has been, we have a team of about 25-30 odd people. We call ourselves a startup, but the average age of the startup is 55. So it's not a startup, perhaps, we have a very experienced team of PhDs. We have 4 PhDs working on advanced motor technologies in Israel. And what we are doing is, now we are trying to find partners in India to manufacture our motors. And this will be not only for India, but also for the global platforms. As of now, we have signed 2 concrete commercial agreements. One is with a company called Napino, and second with a company called Budway Engineering. And this is for the localized manufacturing of motors in India. And also, we are trying to find partnerships with OEMs And what's happening is a lot of the OEMs, they want to retain their value in-house, and motor is one of the critical components. So we have multiple business models in which we are playing. One of them, of course, is to work with the tier ones to manufacture these motors and supply to the OEMs. And at the same time, if an OEM wants to make their own motors, we are absolutely open for that. So basically, we provide our design, and they end up manufacturing it. And we are seeing it that it's a great advantage to us in the longer run, because we want to use India as a manufacturing base for our global business. Now, as I said, I was on a tour for India for about 14 days, and I had with me my management team, and I would just like to show what we have been doing and the kind of excitement we have built. We traveled across 5 cities, namely Jaipur, Pune, Bangalore, Chennai, of course, Delhi. So now, we are seeing a strange change in the way OEMs are now being adapted to the new mobility and the scenario of new mobility. We see extreme flexibility. I mean, there's not been a single meeting where we have not had so much interest from the management to the senior level guys to the mid level guys. Everyone is so interested. It makes me feel that organizations who are very large as well have become very flexible in their approach towards electrification. And what we have done is we have actually gone on the ground, and we have done our own, this is like a play day for us. So we have traveled across the country. We have tried to drive all the EVs. Ofer, you can see he's the CEO of EVR along with me, and I made him drive the Tata Nexon as well. And I took him on a ride on a couple of electric scooters. And the way we see things going forward, it's very, very exciting. And we have been a part of this, and we would like to take this forward. So this is the small role which we are playing in the electrification of India, and the small part of the puzzle which we are trying to solve. Thank you very much.